Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Lucid. We're about to hop back into our game with Sceleria. It's turn 16, and this is our fourth episode in terms of actual gameplay. We have a message from Marignon. Anyone buying gems? Despite normal good fortune, we have very little gold. Anyone need fire, gems, astral, something else? And then that's his name, Rabe, at the end. Okay, so this guy claimed the Throne of Stability. And then we have, let's see, a battle here. This is, I believe, the final battle with, in terms of indie expansion, aside from my throne. This was that province that, Agartha and I agreed that would be mine as per our boundary. So yeah, so we've got that. We've got naps basically with everyone now. And we've got a fair amount of infrastructure up. You can see right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 7 forts with way more on the way. This is enough where very, very quickly I'm going to be in Skelly Spam territory. Yeah, so you can see we're cranking out cultists. Not starting to build a fort there. Here we're building a temple, so we'll have cultists coming out soon. More cultists here. And we've got this one coming up where we're going to be doing our sorceresses. We're not building a lab yet. I kind of want to build a lab, but I decided to do... where was it? I know I built another fort. I'm building a fort here, because with Pangea and Yus fighting, this province becomes safe all of a sudden. And I like having my cap circle forted, which is often something you don't want to do, because you want your cap-only units. But in this case, I'm fine doing that. I know I built another fort somewhere. Maybe it was just doing the fortress upgrades and everything that ran through my money this turn. So anyway, you can see our income too is about 2,200. Which is pretty good. That's a pretty solid early game income. Like, if you have 2,000 something income after initial expansion, you've done okay. So nothing to complain about there. Here we're just going to preach and patrol, get some of this unrest down, get our dominion spread a little faster. For those of you who don't know, dominion spreads actually is a function of how many candles you have in a province. I mean, like your scales spread is a function of how many candles you have in a province. So if you have one candle, it will very slowly over time spread your dominion there. So you can see I don't really have much. Once you start getting more candles, it will spread your dominion or your scales faster. So if you have like a high income province like this one, you can see it doesn't fully have my scales yet. Like it's only growth 1, but if you look at my cap, we're growth 3, production 3, order 3. So if you have one candle in a province, over time you'll eventually get all your scales there, but it will take longer. So sometimes spending a turn or two preaching can actually kind of pay for itself, and that it will get you your full scales in that province a little sooner. And with nothing better to do, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I kind of want to get my Dominion here as well. In terms of my Dominion strength, it's 9 already, and that's because I have 5 temples, so it went up from 8 to 9. I started with Dominion strength 8. I'll be at 10 in no time. I probably could have started at Dominion strength 7 or 6 and still gotten up to 9 or 10 this game. Let me think what else. Yeah, I probably took 1 too many points of Dominion. I could have probably gotten... I don't know if I could have gotten another scale for that, but maybe. What else? What will I do next? Basically, we're just getting infrastructure up. I've got naps with everyone. I have, I think, a 12-month nap with Satis. I don't know when I signed that, maybe a few turns ago. I have a nap with Agartha, though we're going to end up squabbling over this lake, I know. I have a nap with Abyssia and a nap with Marignon. And then Yis and I also have a nap. I don't know when I actually sent it to him. But, yeah, and then I don't have a nap with Pangea, but I basically told him that I'm not going to attack him. Okay, I sent a message to Marignon saying we'll pay 10 gold per pearl, which is close to the transmute rate. And then I sent a message to Pangaea saying my troops are just watching from the border. I basically am moving a small army in to try to deter maybe Ys from attacking me or anybody from getting any bad ideas, because I am putting a fort up. Yeah. And we're going to put a scout in here so we can hopefully see this battle, if there is one. Because you can see there are a ton of white centaurs, like an absolute boatload of them. And I think that's it. So that was turn 16. Nothing too much to talk about. We'll take a quick look at score graphs this turn and research before we actually do the rest. So, research, you can see we've gotten Conjuration 3, Enchantment 3. We need Thaumaturgy 1, too. I probably should have gone ahead and kicked that in, but it's only 7 research points. And I'm not at war. But we're basically running up Enchantment 5. Enchantment 6, I'm probably going to get that pretty soon also, because that will give me Rigor Mortis, which is pretty damn good. Though it does kind of backfire on my communions. But it can also be pretty useful. One way to think about Rigor Mortis, I'll talk about that real quick. It's going to fatigue out everybody on the battlefield. So, if you have communions, it's often a little better if you have Rigor Mortis up, because your communion masters will accumulate fatigue much more slowly than other units. So, yeah, it will shut down non-communion mages at a sooner turn number in a battle than it will communion mages. So, anyway, it can still be pretty viable with Sceleria, even though you have human mages that you're relying on for your communions, who will eventually fatigue out, but anyway. Let's take a look at the turn. Okay, there's actually a battle here with Ys and Pangaea. Okay, and this is going to be a pretty big battle. Let's take a look at this. We've got Pangaea with White Centaurs, and if you remember, he has that attack and I think Blood Surge Bless with... Yeah, I think that was what it was. He's got a Pan here, no gems. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing. Some Horse Tribe. He's got this guy who's his Prophet, who will be, I think, doing a Divine Blessing. And then these guys in the back. Not super sure. Yes, we see some swans, which they can fly. These are basically good for soaking up lance charges, as are these wolves. And, yeah. So, looking at it, White Centaur are freaking scary, too. You would think that Pangaea is going to win. There's some problems in his layout, though. Like, these guys aren't going to do any damage. Their real function should be to absorb lance charges. So you really want to put the Pans and then maybe some of the Horse Tribe archers actually out in front. And that probably will make a big difference. Because, yes, this Golden Lance is going to do a ton of damage on the first strike. The other problem here is these guys are really bunched up. So if you think about how they're going to run forward, and Pangaea has a ton of numbers on Ys, but he's not going to make good contact. And if you have the number advantage, why is the number advantage good? It's good because, especially on the edges, like an enemy unit will be here and they'll be surrounded by 3 tiles, and so they'll get like this guy's going to have no defense because he's surrounded, and he's going to get pummeled to death pretty damn quickly. And just in general, you're going to be dishing out more attacks per turn than your enemy will, and then that will lead to a more efficient trade-off of damage. Now, if you pack them all up like this in a big blob, you're not really going to be getting anything from your numbers advantage, right? Some of your troops are just going to be sitting around. To get something from the number advantage, you need to have a big surface area. So there's some things they could have done differently, like putting them in smaller boxes of maybe like 8 units and spreading those out. Maybe having 2 of the squads on an attack rear to try to get back here to the commanders. But the biggest thing, I think, is just having either a line formation or smaller troops with lots of boxes. Yeah, I would probably, if I were doing it, you would put these guys here out in front, and these would soak up lance charges. These guys would be in a like either a line or lots of box formations going out with the two squads of maybe like 6 that are on attack rear that are on this corner, and they'll come in, and 6 of these guys would definitely be able to kill one of Yus's commanders. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. And the other thing is, these swans, if they jump in, if he put these guys out in front, I think these guys would do pretty well against the swans. 10 attack and defense, 10 HP, 10 damage attack versus swans, which hardly do... Oh, whoops. Hardly do anything. They have a 3 damage attack with really crappy stats. I think the Maenads would wreck the swans, even though swans would probably get first strike. So let's see how this goes. The Pangean armies are running forward. Okay, there we go. So that wasted the lance charge, right? Meanwhile, the swans have flown up, and they're probably going to come down in just a quick minute. Okay, the swans have come to the back, and they are surrounding this guy, which is basically just going to slow this thing down and split up his armies. And if we look, there's, like, look at all these guys who aren't in combat. Meanwhile, these guys are kind of in here. Yus is also using spells. We can see he's making these air elementals, which are okay. Their lightning attack's going to do a good bit of damage. And look at this. He just totally cleared out a whole cell of white centaurs. So pretty damn effective. These guys are injured, though. You can see Yus's attack buff is making them pretty effective at damaging these, but you can't afford... I mean, these few turns are so important. He has to get a surround on these guys to kill them, because they're going to die very, very quickly to Yus's units. So basically coming one at a time at these Movark Knights is not a very good strategy. Meanwhile, these guys are all split up, and some of this, there's not really anything that that Pangea could do about it. Not totally sure what scripting these guys had, but he could have put them on attack cavalry, and that would have dodged it, but that would have been kind of hard to anticipate. So now basically all of the white centaurs are in combat. We see a lot of these elementals coming out, which you can see are doing pretty damn a lot of damage against Pangea. I'm gonna put it in high speed, and you can see they've got a route. Yus is running in, and there we go. Now I've seen this before, and I think that actually Pangea did much better in this version of the battle. I think if you look at... no, maybe that's about what happened. Yeah. So it was kind of expensive for Yus. He lost 8 knights, but for Pangea, he lost 70 white centaurs. I mean, this is probably all of his production for the whole game. That was kind of a really big problem. So Pangea is basically crippled now, and I believe that Marignon may be attacking him too from the north. I don't have scouts, but that's what somebody told me at about this point in the game. Oh, in other news, Thrones of Ascension. Somebody has claimed Throne of Death, which I believe has gotten us one of these lovely events that disease is spreading. And then I think there's going to be another event when somebody claims the Throne of Pestilence, which will give us even more death-spreading goodness. But this is a kind of shitty event. It's like a story event, so it keeps happening. Like, it's going to spread from here to all my other provinces. There's no way that I know of to get rid of it. Except in the winter, sometimes it will go away. But yeah, it's kind of shitty because you're going to get bad events, basically, for the rest of the game. Life will continue. For us, we don't really have any battles. We, I think, just caught a scout here, yeah. But that's about it. you can see our infrastructure coming up. We have a fortress finish here. We're not... I think I ran out of money. We're not doing more cultists there this turn. We're upgrading this to a fortress. This, we're building a lab finally, so that we're going to be getting our sorceresses. Palisade 2 months away from coming up here. Basically, there's a lot of infrastructure coming up. This is pretty close, 2 turns away. And this is pretty safe. I'm not really worried about Yis attacking me. I'm going to keep these guys here just so that he doesn't get any ideas. But it's pretty obvious that Yis is probably going to come up and attack Pangaea on the island. Which is fine by me. We're going to build palisades. Diplomacy going out. I sent a message to Marignon saying... Oh wait, did he send me a message? Okay, that's quite a large group on our border. He's talking about this one. So, I sent a message back to him basically saying we're just patrolled down some unrest, and then we'll move them to one of our garrison... to garrison one of our forts. And I say, I believe we have a nap too, so there's nothing to worry about. I'm actually pretty damn trustworthy. I don't think I've ever intentionally broken a nap. Unless there was a throne rush where I had like 1 or 2 turns to prevent the game from ending, and that's kind of... everybody understands that if you're 1 or 2 turns away from the game ending, naps are not really binding at that point. Okay, what did I say? Okay, so I'm sending a message to Pangaea, trying to give him some ideas. Make sure you move... units to absorb those Movark lance charges. Also, you got blobbed up in front of his Movarks, where there was a number... where your number advantage wasn't helping. And then finally, if he can Earth Meld on the Movarks, that will be basically as good as killing them. So, like, he could have used... I don't know what his research was, but we'll go look at this battle again real quick. If he had moved... like, if he had these guys in a line and kind of on hold and attack with some people to kind of lance charge up here... This guy's Earth 2. He could potentially have Earth Power, but he definitely can Earth Meld, or something like that. So putting him up at the front, and then having him Earth Meld Movarks would be a pretty big deal. Anyway, so basically I'm giving Pan kind of what my advice was. And then the final thing I think I said to him is, what I'm really trying to say is that you brought the right army to the fight, and you have a pretty damn good bless for dealing with... well, I said Pan, but yes. The scripting was just off, and you could have won that one handily. Which I think is true. I think Yes kind of just outplayed him in terms of scripting. And then finally, I send a message to Agartha saying, yeah, dude, we didn't discuss the lake. Since it's really close to my cap, I'm going to take it in a few turns. Just letting you know since you're amphibious. Did Agartha send me a message? No. So, I see these guys here, and I'm basically letting him know that the lake is not going to be uncontested. Because when we signed our NAP, we basically agreed to certain borders, but we didn't talk about the lake. And I think that's it. So that was turn 16 or 17. We're going to do turn 18. Yeah, so Agartha says Marignon is quite large. We see Yis moving in to take some of Pangaea's land. And you can see he's got a lot of these buffs up. Now, unfortunately, after this, he's going to have a fair amount of fatigue, 35. That's not too much. And then basically he runs in. And yeah, his fatigue didn't even go above 50. So that is a quite efficient little raider. And we're pinging the throne. This is the throne in that big woodland province. And basically it's a bunch of these astral dudes, which, man, I would kind of like to have them on my team. But I have no way of really getting them. And then this guy, the Lore Master, who actually has some pretty damn awesome paths. I don't really have any way to get him, though. Which is too bad. If I had Seducers, that would be fun. But that probably would be broken. But basically, it's a ton of archer fire. So this will actually be pretty... My skeletons will be probably pretty okay against this kind of stuff. But I'm going to be careful too, because the skeletons will get chewed through by solar rays and stellar fires and whatnot from the astral mages. So I'm not probably going to be taking that anytime too soon. Alright, this is another plague event. As you can see, we lost some population, death increased. My temples have been vandalized, that's unfortunate. And then... Did I get 2 of the same event? Yeah, I did. So, yeah, anyway, you can see we're getting only bad events, even though we have basically good scales and no misfortune. Which is pretty awesome. Not actually sure what the deal is with the temple vandalization. I don't know what makes that so common here, but anyway. We're starting to get our undead engine going. We've got like 3 guys reanimating here, a fair amount of guys here, and then a fair amount of guys here. So you can see they're piling up pretty quickly, and that's because we're getting 2 a turn. So you can get twice as many cultists per turn as you could in Dominions 4 if you've got a fort set up. Which is something we're definitely going to take advantage of. And we're starting to get Mountain Kings, so we're building a lab here, and I'm going to transition this into my first research center, where I'll start making thaumaturgs. But basically, a lot of these other ones, I'm going to be content to just let them sit up without labs. I'm not going to super worry about research at the moment. And here I'm also switching into Grand Thaumaturgs. So these guys will go out site searching, but I'm going to now let research duties get picked up probably by this province. And then everybody else is going to be focused on very, very quickly getting me to where I have a critical mass of undead, that I do not need human troops anymore. And I want to do that quickly because human troops I would much rather be making mages or priests. But I don't really have that many human troops left, so I'm kind of a little bit at a military lull, where I need to very, very quickly get a ton of priests out to make up for that. We're preaching here. I went ahead and moved this guy here, and that way we can get our Dominion in here, which is something I want. Can see our Dominions spread in here pretty damn good. We're making Solus. I need to go ahead and switch him over next turn to doing normal undead. We're making a temple here too. Not totally sure why this probably wasn't a good call. I don't need a temple to make the sorceresses, and that's all I'm going to be doing for a while. So this temple is kind of wasteful. I probably could have spent it on other stuff. We're about 1 turn away from this fortress. These ones are getting upgraded, and that's basically it. This is a little bit of a not super interesting part of the game, because I had a pretty good initial expansion, and then now I'm basically going to turtle until I get some critical infrastructure up. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next episode, and we'll probably have 1 more episode of kind of boring stuff, and then it's going to get spicy. Oh, one last thing. You can see Agartha has gotten in here, and I basically told Agartha that, I think it was in Steam. Let's read this message I sent to him first. Yeah, they're pretty big. Once I have the small lake, I'll start making preparations to attack whoever is looking scarier between them. Them being Yis and Marignon. Though my scouting network is rather shit in the part of the map, in that part of the map, so I can't tell who's bigger. Also, not sure if you saw, but Pangea lost 70 White Centaur to Yis, who took pretty minimal losses. So Yis will have the large island soon. That's this one. As to the small lake, I'm kind of small and think I need it. If you want to do limited ward to see if you can keep it, we can do that. Where we fight in the lake, but not elsewhere. I'd rather direct my energy at one of the more immediate threats, but I'm not comfortable with somebody else holding that lake. So basically I'm telling Agartha that we're going to fight over this, but I don't really want it like a full-out war, like an unmeasured war. I really want to just kill him and, to have the lake. So if he wants to do a limited war where we just pour our resources into the lake, I'm fine doing that. Because while I do want it, and I do want to convince Agartha I can take it, I don't really want to weaken Agartha either. Like, if I were to raid him and kill a bunch of his stuff, because I think I will need him as an ally against Yis or Marignon. So I don't really want to hurt him, but I do really want this. And particularly, I want this lake because if I need to attack Abyssia later for whatever reason, having this small lake is going to open up a ton more raiding options for me. And it's like being able to raid from a place that they can't really get to is a big deal. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope you tune back in for the next one.